never heard of a killer? I drop bombs like Hiroshima.
Somebody said, look at LeakYou video. What the fuck is LeakYou? Is it like a site? What's LeakYou? LeakYou. Is it a YouTube channel? Oh, shit. Oh, all right, bet. Here we go.
Please hit the like. Thank you.
One, two, three, four.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you are across the world today. And I have some breaking news and some quite shocking news, actually. And I'll just start with this. The UFO community is absolutely reeling tonight. We have lost, just in the past, week, 3 major voices in the UFO community. But there's also a lot of discussion and conversation happening about multiple UFO researchers and scientists, including a general, that have come up missing or dead. We're talking about people that were set to testify before Congress regarding the information and knowledge that they had regarding UFOs and UAPs and their work, during their time working for the United States government in whatever capacity. And so there's been a lot of loss in the UFO community. We lost Nick Pope recently to cancer, unfortunately. We've also lost, we've also lost Eric Von Doniken. Hopefully I said that correctly. But then today, the news is circling that we have now lost David Wilcock. David Wilcock is a well-known member of the UFO community. He was a host on Cosmic Disclosure, which is part of Gaia. If you're subscribed or have a subscription to the Gaia channel, he was a good friend of Corey Goods, who he also interviewed on Cosmic Disclosure. He also was pivotal to certain people coming out and sharing their stories, like Emery Smith, who is now a host on Cosmic Disclosure. David had a YouTube channel that, he talked a lot about ascension, and he had a lot of personal issues as well. But before I get more further into this news and what's happening and why we have so many people in the UFO community that are coming up either missing or dead, and we're talking in the last 2-3 years, I know of 24 people people that have stellar backgrounds that are just coming up missing, coming up dead. We've got a general, the general over Wright-Patterson Air Force Base missing right now. Generals over, especially bases such as Wright-Patterson, they don't just disappear. And if you understand the significance of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, then you realize how strange it is that a general who oversees all of the operations on that base is still missing and has been missing for a few months now. Now, let me kind of give you some context and details about David, and then we'll talk a little bit more about these missing researchers, because I've already actually started doing videos on each of these. I've been investigating these individuals that are missing, and guys, some of the stories of these people that have come up dead or missing in the UFO community what really bothers me is to see it happening to people right like a week before they're supposed to testify in front of Congress. We know that there are things happening in our government that even the president does not know about. Now, the president has touted that he was going to release all of the UFO files, but it has not happened. And instead, he has started a war in Iran. And I truly, honestly believe that he only dangled that out as like a carrot to get people to stop talking about the Epstein files and him being in the Epstein files. Trump is the most named individual in the Epstein files. And you got to remember, when the FBI did their dumps of these FBI documents, literally, put the victims' names out there, but didn't redact the perpetrators of those crimes in those Epstein files. You all have to remember that Trump was getting skewered over the coals every single day for weeks upon weeks. And it got to the point where then all of a sudden, he brings up UFOs. He has his daughter-in-law come out and do a video and make this, mysterious statement as if, he's going to release all of the files and to get the truth to the American people. And then he dangles the carrot and says that he has ordered the release of all the UFO files, although we've not seen them. And God forbid it's as disastrous as it was with the Epstein files, right? But that has not happened. And I truly believe that he only said that to get us to stop talking about the Epstein situation. Then again, we've got a war happening in Iran, and UFO disclosure is far from the top of the list now. Now, in regards to David Wilcock, who is also a New York Best Time seller, filmmaker, prolific researcher. He was also a lecturer. Again, it is being reported that he passed away yesterday in Nederland, Colorado. According to the Boulder County Sheriff's Office, deputies responded to a 911 call at about 10:44 a.m. at David Wilcock's home on Ridge Road. Deputies, the sheriff's office have stated that there was a man in mental health crisis who was outside of his residence and was holding a weapon. He then used this weapon within minutes of contact on himself and then was pronounced dead at the scene. So at the very least, I would expect that his death was caught on some body cam footage, because I'm very suspicious of any deaths of people in the UFO community at this point. And when I tell you that this guy, regardless of whether you hated him, liked him, loved him, whatever, this man here is definitely a part of the UFO community as a whole and helped shape a lot of things that are happening today within the UFO community. Now, it's interesting because I know of bloggers on YouTube that I watch from time to time. Don't always comment, but there are bloggers that have literally scraped and raked David Wilcock over the coals viciously. And I wonder how they're feeling tonight. I really do. Because, in this vlogging world, you can get caught up. And before you know it, you're saying things and you're saying, really hurtful things, defaming people, libeling people, slandering folks, all for the entertainment of it. Because to you, you're getting down to a story, but maybe all your facts aren't correct. And now he's dead. I think it's a lesson in how deep you should go in on people and how that can affect one's mental health. People think that coming online and making videos about people doesn't affect their mental health, especially when you're doing it consistently over and over every single night. You got a series on the man, for God's sakes. There's some bloggers out here that have series completely about David Wilcock. And they'll sit around for 2 or 3 hours and make fun of him and all sorts of stuff like that. And I'm not saying that some of it is not entertainment. I'm just wondering how some of those people may be feeling tonight. It's no secret that David wrote on his X page just 2 days ago that he had a really bad and intense weekend. He didn't go into details, but he had things happening in his life that weren't positive. And I think when people pile on, vloggers have a habit of just like piling on and piling on and piling on as if people aren't human beings. And I'll leave it at that. Again, David Wilcock, he was a major voice in ufology. He wasn't, your traditional field investigator. This guy was prolific with his research. Again, he was a lecturer, a filmmaker. What's that documentary he did? Above Top Secret. You should check it out when you get a chance. He speaks in that documentary. It's actually very good and very interesting knowledge-wise. The things that he would discuss, like with the reptilians and he had some theories that were pretty out there, that were a little extreme even for me, but everybody's not lying when it comes to UFOs and aliens, people. Thousands of people have reported being abducted, etc. Everybody's not lying. There are things in this world that we don't understand. There is a realm that we cannot see, a spiritual type of realm. So how they call them interdimensional, extra dimensional, a spiritual type of realm. And we could go back and talk about where they come from and all of that. But today is about David and also these missing scientists and researchers who are coming up dead and missing. And we're talking again, I know of 24 just in the last 2 years. That is uncanny. Something is going on. And it seems like ever since traction was gained with the hearings in Congress, there's been this increase of people coming up missing and dead in the UFO community. And it's extremely concerning. And I know other people in the UFO community are taking note of this. Again, David co hosted Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia. He did claim telepathic ET contact. Some even seen him as Edgar Casey's reincarnation. He also served as the director of advanced technology and was a board member at Stavati Aerospace, where he promoted a next generation military fighter with exotic propulsion and advanced aerospace concepts. I remember when he started that venture, a lot of people immediately said he's going to fail, but he kept at it. David Wilcock, no question, has been a polarizing figure in the UFO community. He's inspired millions. And I want to just say that if you are struggling with mental health, there is resources available. You do not have to take your life, guys. Everything is temporary in this life. Everything. Relationships. Uh, we have our children and we're only going to be alive for so many years. It's temporary. Everything is temporary. You may be having the worst day of your life, but tomorrow it could all change and you could be having the best day of your life. Never do make a permanent decision based on temporary problems or temporary issues. Okay. But again, the investigation is ongoing. A matter of fact, I do believe that give me just a second. There was a statement from his publicist. Let me see if I can find that really quick. Okay. Okay. So, no, it wasn't his publicist, but U.S. Representative Anna Paulina did share, that she had just learned about the tragic passing of David Wilcock. She says, quote, "We are praying for his family and loved ones and the millions of lives that he impacted." And she wrote this on the X platform. And, these fears started again yesterday after a 911 call was received. Again, it was like 10:44 in the morning. The problem, as far as whatever the issue was, that is unknown. But again, police got there. There, uh, he was obviously having a mental health crisis. And the officers got to the home at 11:02. They tried to make contact with him. Again, he was outside of his residence. He was holding a weapon, and then he unfortunately took his life. And the police were not able to convince him not to. So that is unfortunate. I hate that it happened this way. I feel like he had so much more that he would have brought to the community. Not to mention that we just lost Nick Pope. No, he was known as like the UK's Mulder for the X Files. And he unfortunately passed away from cancer. So that was shocking. Um, I'm a bit in shock today. But again, what is happening with all of these missing scientists and these researchers? There's a lot of people coming up missing and dead. Give me a sec. All right. So I just want to share, a little information about this, and we will talk more about this. And the only blogger that I've seen talk about this, these missing scientists, has been Trap Lore Ross. Shout out to him for that. Seriously. He actually has recognized how important the UFO community is, and he's been discussing it. But even NASA is working with authorities. There's an entire probe happening right now. They're calling it the Missing Scientists probe. Okay. And it was sparked after the general I was speaking about disappeared. So this is a probe, a congressional probe that has actually been launched. And I want to play a news clip for you because it just brings it home, so that you can, you know, take this all into context.
Agencies investigating the deaths or the White House is actively working, they say, with the FBI and other agencies, investigating the deaths or disappearances under very strange circumstances in many of these of scientists who were very deeply involved in our defense, nuclear, and space programs. Fox News Digital reports that some of them have ties to UFO or UAP, as they call it, research. President Trump says he has had a meeting about this yesterday, and that we could have some answers in the next week and a half, calling it, quote, pretty serious stuff. With that, we bring in Chris Swecker, former assistant director of the FBI's Criminal Investigative Division, and an attorney. Chris, thank you very much for joining us here. These are very disturbing stories of how all of these people disappeared. Tell us, how you got interested in this story, what you've learned as you've kind of followed and dug in to what happened to all these different people.
Well, I started to get calls from media outlets asking about, what at the time was 7 scientists. Well, it originally was General McCaslin went off hiking.
Can you guys see how these placeholders turn into actual user details in my business card? That's exactly how our email signature product works. So let's imagine your marketing team has a task to create an email signature and to deploy it company-wide within minutes. Is it possible without a third-party solution?
Left all his personal items at
Sorry
home
about
and never
that.
returned. And then that kind of expanded to 7 scientists missing or died mysteriously. Now it's up to 10. So it's really the media that's making these connections. The point that I have made several times is, this doesn't look like a grand conspiracy here.
Now, it's up to 24, okay? This, is, it's up to 24. I can tell you that for a fact. Now, notice the dates. July 30th, 2023, Michael David Hicks dead. Anthony Chavez, May 8th, 2025, missing. Melissa Cassius, June 26, 2025, missing. Jason Thomas, December 12th, 2025, dead. Carl Grillmere, February 16th, 2026, dead. Frank Mywald, July 4th, 2024, dead. Monica Reza, June 22nd, 2025, missing. Stephen Garcia, August 28th, 2025, missing. Nuno Lareo, December 16th, 2025, dead. William Neil McCaslin, the general, missing. February 27th, 2026. So it's like there's, ever since we've seen this explosion in the activity, especially the congressional activity and people, testifying in front of Congress and in front of the world. Believe me, this infuriates certain people in the United States government. And it's like there's this explosion of people that are either coming up missing or dead that all have ties to the UFO community, who happen to have, different professions, whether it's physics, studying the recovery of some of these crafts, whatever it is, right? Now, we've got all of these deaths and these people that are missing. What is happening? Is someone trying to shut people up?
By the government or anyone else to take these scientists out because they were involved with UFOs and that sort of thing. What I've said is the most likely scenario in some of the cases, particularly General McCaslin and Monica Chavez, is that they worked on very sensitive technology. China and Russia and other hostile foreign intelligence services are after that information all the time. Day in and day out, there's a cat and mouse game that takes place. And these scientists are targeted at Los Alamos, at the Jet Propulsion Lab, at sensitive Air Force facilities out west. And it's an everyday occurrence. The FBI briefs them all the time and tells them what to look out for. So what may be happening here in some of these cases is modern day espionage. It's trying to grab this technology, steal it, or disrupt it, because it is very sensitive. It has application to war making and weaponry, missile technology, nuclear technology, etc. So I don't think the 10 are connected, but I think something's going on in some of the cases.
So Eric Burleson, a representative from Missouri on the House Oversight Committee, has been following this closely, and he's digging into it. He says this is not normal. Watch.
This is not normal. These are some of the most advanced scientists, researchers in our nation, some of the most important people for our nation's national security efforts, and they all just mysteriously disappeared.
Yeah, I was reading an account of a young woman who would be the 11th person on this list who took her own life. But she had been posting things that were disturbing in terms of saying, that there was information and that people were coming after her. Now, there's a number of reasons why she might have thought that, but one of the reasons would be that it was potentially true.
Yeah, some of them are potential suicides. Some are homicides that are explained. For example, the Brown mass shooter went up and shot an MIT professor. You can take that one out. I mean, there's another one was a carjacking and a burglary. I think you can probably take that one out. But then there still remains some very serious concerns, and the FBI needs to be all over this. They are the only agency that does counterintelligence, is the primary and in the front lines in the realm of counterintelligence. They are the spy catchers. They are supposed to catch people who are trying to disrupt our technology or trying to steal our technology or target our professors and scientists who are working on that technology. So, it looks to me like, this is something the FBI should have been on yesterday, and they may well have been. They don't talk about these classified cases.
Chris Wecker, as always, great to have you. Thank you very much.
Now, guys,
The White House is
something else that I want to mention here, right? You've got, again, it's up to 24 people, right? Because that video's from, it's a couple days old. But again, that is, the community is small. So to have that many people come up dead or missing from it's definitely caught some attention. And, they talk about foreign adversaries, they want to get their hands on that technology, et cetera, et cetera. But what if it's something much darker and deeper than that? What if our own government is killing them off because they want to make sure they don't testify in front of any congressional hearings? You think it can't happen? It has happened. And it's happened in the UFO community. Our own CIA has absolutely killed people, Americans, because they didn't want the truth to come out. So again, the death of David Wilcock, on top of the fact that we just lost Nick Pope, on top of this situation, that is finally hitting the mainstream, where people are recognizing that we've got multiple people in the UFO community coming up missing and dead. The community is absolutely reeling. I know that's how I feel tonight. But it will not stop our fight in disclosure. Okay. That is the ultimate goal here, is disclosure. All right. Let me give a shout out to the chat. Shout out to each and every one of you for being here. Third Eye, special shout out to you. Good to see you. I appreciate each and every one of you for coming through. Much thanks, everyone. I will continue to follow this. And again, I will be breaking down each of these missing scientists and researchers, and we're going to be talking about each of their individual stories because, like I said, it's up to 24 now at this point. And so prepare for that. And there's just so much more discussion to be had about this. I personally think that things are happening because certain individuals don't want the truth out there. The topic of UFO and UAPs and aliens is the most top secret topic in the United States government, hands down. Other than not even nuclear technology is as high on the top secret list as the recovering the craft from a being that isn't human. That is even above nuclear. There's many levels above top secret. And so just be aware of that. I know it's Wednesday is a day away, but I really look forward to hearing what Linda Moulton Howe is going to say and what she may have to say about all of these missing researchers. I remember about a year and a half ago, I was in one of her live streams and I mentioned to her, and I asked her, have you heard anything about there being several people killed or missing that are involved in the UFO program? And at that time, it was not mainstream media. But guys, this is something that I've been hearing about for like 2 years. Hands down. 2 years, easy. Where I've been hearing, I even heard that there's multiple lawsuits right now that's been filed against the United States government on the behalf of the relatives of some of these people that have passed away, doing their jobs. People have absolutely passed away doing their jobs in the UFO community. It's so dangerous to be around a UFO. You got to know how far to be away from it when it's powering up, when it's powering down, those sorts of things. You can literally, a human being's brain and consciousness, I should say that a human being's consciousness can literally be disassociated if they're standing around one of these craft and the craft is powered down and that human is either too close to that craft or not where they should be. They can literally, the physical body loses the consciousness. This is real. This has actually happened during testing of recovered crafts. But again, I could talk about this stuff all day. So I wanted to make all of you aware of this breaking news. I will see you all tomorrow. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your night. Guys, tell your loved ones that you love them. Give them a hug because you never know when life could end. I mean, this here happened so suddenly and so unexpectedly. But R.I.P. David Wilcock. Until next time, everyone.
The judgment sentence that you are an asshole. The trial is over. Thank you, everybody.
Let's play a game. You have 10 seconds to take all your stuff and get out of my life. 10, 9, 8.
God bless you, motherfucker.
You're really smart. Like really, really, really smart like I am.